All right, all right. Happy Friday to all you devils out there. Sam here with you. What are we? Friday the 7th of January here, a little after, 12:20 for me here in Austin. Of course, we're going to update Bitcoin here. Now, this is, well, things are getting interesting here. Now, this is, of course, the count that I've had teed up here. Oh, God, how long have we been doing this? May of last year, when we put in these lows here. Well, we got a couple of significant developments here that are perhaps giving us more clues. So the one thing I want you to notice right off the bat, because I've been talking about this for a very long time, this little channel here, right, on both sides here. Yep, we had a little throw over here up at the highs. But now here, this doesn't, well, could it be throw over much like this? Yeah, it could be. All right, we've come down and we've touched the support. And this is very typical Elliot here. Now we're down 1 degree to the prior 3-4, so it's not surprising. Well, shit, we take that out of it, right? Just price action. It's not surprising that we're pausing here. Now we've had one test right on the liquidation wick, retrace back to the gold. Back to the Vegas wave, and now we're back down testing again. So are we done here? Could that be enough? Well. Certainly, of course, it's possible, right? But this is starting to look like perhaps there's more downside here to go. So we're going to break it down in smaller time frames here. But as we just look at it here, there's a couple of things that are worth noting here. Now, here, all I've done is just draw the volume profile from the swing low to the swing high. Just, all right, where might we run into some support? Well, this is not rocket science, right? So here, right at the edge of value here is where we initially consolidated before this last little move lower. Now, you could look at this low here and say, oh, all they did was just run the stops, right? There's stops there. Now, are we gonna? Well, the Elliott count that really doesn't support that as we go to lower time frames here. I think what you have to be careful of, right? So every pivot is always an opportunity for shenanigans, let's say it that way, right? For professionals to take advantage of amateurs. So somebody's selling there. So of course, right, and I talk about this a lot, right? The stops have already been run. What is retail likely doing here? They're either panicking or they're shorting, right? I don't, there's not many. Oh shit, hang on. Never a video where I forget to turn that off. So breakout traders are shorting it here. Retail. I mean, certainly the ingredients are here for them to get bent over here, but the count doesn't suggest this. So we can look down here as we come into where we've got this structure here. If we're going to come down and test it a bit lower here and get into this high volume node here, which actually note, I am in log scale. So if you're trying to recreate this, just the little volume profile here, well, here's your POC right down here. So you kind of tee that up here with the 4, we're kind of using this. This is 786 to the outer edge. Is that a target? Well, of course, and again, I know I'm repeating myself, but we're going to get a flat here. Maybe. What's the alternate? That we'd have a triangle, right? Again, I've been talking about this for many months, right? Maybe we're approaching, right, something like this, right? Now, off we go. I think even for the most bearish interpretation, well, what would be the most bearish here? If this is correctly identified as an AB, right, which at this point, boy, how is anybody calling that anything but a 3 now at this point? Well, let's think about it. So if it's a flat, all right, I mean, this would be the target, right? So if it's going to be 3 via the WXY, 3 here via the ABC. Well, what are the other options here that we've gone? Let's think how a bear is thinking, right? If this is a 1 and this is a 2, and now we'll go down and see if that fits, right? 3, 4, right? Now we're going lower here. We're getting beyond the range of what you would anticipate for a flat, right? The idea in a flat is that we're going to do something like this. We have some parity, right? Potentially, right? Again, there are no hard rules that the market's going to follow. The market's going to do what the market's going to do. But this would be the textbook flat, right? So we'd come in right to 100%. Note we'd be right back to the 23.6, you know, off of the proposed too low. So do we have those ingredients here? Well, it's getting harder and harder to argue with the idea that we're coming down towards this to test it, right? Again, oh shit, I guess you can see that here. But if I get it really focused here on this high volume node, if we're coming down towards that, well, you know that this is going to freak the public out, right? So we can just call them weak hands. We don't have to say retail. We can just say weak hands, right? If we're coming down here, this is a panic attack. Now, long-term hodlers, bulls, likely down here buying, right? I know I would be if we get the opportunity to buy down here. It would be hard not to, given that I've been looking at this for I don't know how many months, saying, well, it's either going to be this or we're going to go down here and we're going to get that flat. So do we have the right ingredients? Now, here's where the Elliott can be really helpful. So you note here that while this is a dangerous, right? I will always tell you this is a dangerous place to short. Now, here, if you want to short here, I would tell you that makes more sense. And as we look at the counts, in terms of breaking this down, whether it's A, B, and we're going into the C, or if it's 1, 2, and we're going 3, 4, 5, either way, this, as we sit here, could you get away with it? Of course, right? Nothing says you couldn't, right? It would just be you would be very vulnerable to getting this shot back in your face, right? So I would be cautious about doing that. I don't think we're at panic zone right now. If you bought it up here, you know, look at it here. So let's just compare the two. That's probably a little more than I needed. Right? When there was a breakout here, I can just do it this way here. We'll just cross it right here. Right? What were these guys thinking? Right? Again, I don't want to repeat myself to ad nauseum here, but it's the same thing over and over and over again, right? So this was we're off to the moon, 100K, 150K, 500K, whatever it may be. Here we go. That's a long fall from the people that bought it up here. Now look down here, right? There were stops there. Any pivot, wherever there's a pivot, right? It's always a target, right? Why? Because there's going to be stops there, right? Just like there's going to be stops there, stops there, stops there, stops there. There were stops there, stops here. Every pivot, right? You got to pay attention to. So you can look here and see what's happening. Is this a potential just running the stops, a grab of liquidity because there were a ton of stops down here? You got breakout traders that are already short. Well, look at it, right? We're out on a daily, but one, call it 2-ish, right? We're going to be done here. How would you count that to have us done down here? If we're going to finish with the 3, it'd have to be ABC or part ABC into a WX. So this would have to be WXY. Is that possible? Well, it's not impossible, right? ABC, right? ABC into the X. Be shallow X, A, B, C. So there's a count that would get you done there. Now, smaller time frames, I'm not so sure that we're done yet. So the breakout traders here, they may get one. They might. One thing to note here as we're out here on the daily, keep an eye on the Vegas wave. Now, so my point being, the 233 is still under, well, technically, right, as I've told you guys, this is the Vegas wave. I added the 233 to it. So this is we've got the 233 still underneath the Vegas wave, right? So it's going to take a lot of downside to get that to flip, right? Throughout the whole thing, right? It's been underneath, even with this, right? It takes a lot to flip it on a daily. So let's pull that back out here and noticing that here, so what are we at there? That's 30K, right back to the prior support, the wave 4 low, all the structure here, the volume profile. You can see how that would be just a very clear path to get there. Freak everybody out. Now, where is the next giant pool of liquidity, right? Right in here, right? So if we were going to do that, you could see this, right? I mean, just sweep the lows, grab all that liquidity. It's the same over here, right? So, I mean, there will be a boatload of liquidity down there, and right, I mean, off it goes, right? With all grabbing all that liquidity, all those people, right? There's like, oh my God, we're never going down to 30. It'll never happen, right? Which is probably the most common comment that I get. We'll never see 30, and we may not. This is not an inevitability, but if we come down here, you could just see how, oh my God, it actually is going to 30K. I got to get out. I got to get out. I got to get out. Right? Nothing changes in the markets, right? I love I get a lot of comments from people, right? But I see most of them. Well, Elliott Wave doesn't work in crypto. Right? That's what I get a lot of. Right? No. It's you got to pay attention to the on-chain metrics and what are whales doing and what blah 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 blah. That's such horseshit. It amazes me. I still get that because the implication would be that the human beings aren't involved here anymore, because that's all that Elliott Wave is really a reflection of, right? Fear and greed, crowd dynamics, right? So unless we're 100% bot driven, and we're high percentage bot driven, but we're all in here trading, and we're just as vulnerable to fear and greed, FOMO, name it, all of it, right? Just the human condition, right? Fear and greed. That's what Elliott Wave is dictating, right? There's just patterns that repeat because human beings tend to do the same thing. Right? What's more emotional than money? Nothing. Right? So emotion is all that it really is a reflection. Elliott Wave is just a reflection of human emotion. So, while I'm not disparaging those of you that have become specialists in on-chain metrics. Right? Have at it, man. If it helps you, great. In the same way that if Elliott's not helping you, get it off the bloody chart. But it's just makes me laugh, right, when I see that. Right, I don't know, what am I, 3,000 videos, every single one of them, with very rare exceptions. Is there a point where there's not a count that can't be crafted around it, right, if you know your Elliott well enough? So here we sit, right? So what's the alternative, right? Well, I guess I'll hide this one. Let's hide that one. Here's our alternative. All right, so we're going to do it via triangle, which would be very consistent Elliott, right? We're going to do it this way, right? Out of here. And again, not to repeat myself ad nauseum, but we'd have perfect alternation, short and sharp. Well, pardon me, sharp sideways. I mean, it's really what you're anticipating, right? So for that guideline of alternation to be in play here, I mean, a flat fits it nicely, as does a triangle. So at this point, we're down to what do we got here? Is it, as I said, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I titled the video, is it a 3 or a 5? Well, can we say for sure now? Well, maybe not. But as we're tapping this support down here, it's going to be very interesting to see if we get the reaction. Do we come out of here? Does this get rejected as we're down into the base of support, the demand zone? Call it what you like. As we tap into this, are we going to get a rejection here? If we do, then you're starting to think triangle. Right? If we don't, and this just keeps rolling lower here, we come down to get towards this liquidity. Now you're thinking flat. Right? And then this would be the flats in, the 4s over here, and now it's 1, 2, boom, off we go for the 3. Right? So it's not that complicated, really. I mean, just some rudimentary Elliott would get you there. All right, let's go. With that said, I think we covered everything here. Let's see. Let's go back. This is where we left off yesterday. Let me, or last week, I should say. I think I did it on the day before New Year's Eve. So I think the 31st was last Friday. We did it, and let me zoom in here. We had noted, right, you'll recall here, as I titled the video, why is Bitcoin stuck here, right? A golden zone, kept it. And we had also noted here that, that there was another algo pull here, but we had given the advantage to the bears because, one, we had the break of the dominant here, right? So if I pull back here. So from the lowest low to our swing high, we have a slight break here. Now note I'm out of log scale. Slight break of the 65 here. So odds are that we lost, right? Again, we've seen a little pop go through and then head towards target. But you would have to be giving the advantage to the bears because of that break. Now, again, here I know it's hard to see in there, but if we look here, these little breaks, right? So we get a little break here, we get little breaks here, we hold up here. Now, where's that target? So this guy is out of the mix, right? He's broken. Right, we're well past. Now this guy here also out of the mix. Now we've come up and we're tagging the 707, so we have a technical reaction here, and so we're getting a fib reaction in alignment with the area of potential support. Right, it's always, you know, it's not guaranteed support; it's always potential support. But you can understand why this would be support. So now let's clear this up a little bit. Let's see what we can make of this count. So let me get this out of here for the time being. We know we have a technical pivot here, right, coming right from the golden zone, and we went through it last week as to what, well, note, there's a couple of things you'll note out here on the 8 hour. One, that's tagging the, oh, this guy calls it the God MA. It's an average of the 200 SMA and the 200 EMA. We're tagging that as we tag the 50, right? That little dotted line is the 50 EMA. It's literally tagging them both to the tick at the same spot. And it was also an algo swing, right? We went down to, what, a 30-minute and showed that that was right in the pocket there. It's got all of its targets. So we understand why that pivot. Here's the target right here. So just so you're clear, it's that green line right here. This is the 707. So let me leave that there. This one I'm going to just hide that. So we know we've lost the golden zone from the dominant low. So we can get one back, but we can't get one back until we get this, right? We get a higher low where we're in the zone, right? 50 to the golden zone. Then we can get that. Until then, it's bear's ball. So let's look at this and see what's likely, well, per the count where we are. We say it that way. Oh, let me pull back a little bit. So this is a shame, right? This was, you know, part of the reason last week that we were looking like, oh, maybe that little area that I drawn here, maybe we could hold. Maybe we could hold because we had this beautiful trend line here with the channel, like it was all gorgeous. Right now, it looks like if it's coming back, right, you'd be anticipating just, again, very, very typical price action. We'd come back to the prior support. Now it's the resistance. Okay, now think about that, right? So if this is going to continue to come down, we're heading towards the 3, we'd get, you see what we'd have here? We'd be coming from this golden zone. We'd pop the 3, so this algo hits its target. We kick back. We come back to the resistance, the trend line here. But remember, the average trader will take that off. They won't keep it on. They won't know to do that. Oh, it's broken. Well, I got to take it off. Right, we're coming down here to test some of this structure here as we looked at. Okay, so let's break into the count. So I'm going to just hide that, right? Don't take it off, hide it, right? Which I do mainly for the video here. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Let's just hide that so we can dig into this a little bit more into the count. All right, so let's get you off of there. Now, so my view is that this here, this liquidation wick is more likely the finish of something rather than this being continuation of it. So per the count that I think fits best, right? This is my opinion, right? You could interpret this a couple of different ways. If it's an A, B, right? Now you're leaning into the idea of the triangle because we're anticipating a 3 here, not a 5. Well, it's going to be one or the other here, so I have the alternate count. But let's start with the ABC, and then we'll look at the potential for the flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so extension in the 5th, and this is all liquidation. Okay, the 1, 2, the 3 is a little sloppy, and you probably got to pull an A, B, big C in there to make that work. Note the 50 EMA envelope holds it just beautifully. Then the rip down for that. Now we just go sideways. Right? It's a very typical consolidation period. So it would be typical 4-ish, but the count here, I don't like this as the 4. What would you be doing? 1, 2, 3. The 4 to the 2 would be way too big. So I prefer the count that has us finishing an impulse here. Now we go sideways, right? Which would be, again, typical B or 4, right? These are not uncommon to consolidate after we've had this reaction down here and this liquidation here. Now we go sideways. Now we start tapping on the golden zone there. We get little breaks. Here's the big break. right to the support. So let's get into that count. Let me try a 2 hour here, see how we look. All right, so 1, 2, 3, and here's what I meant. Right? Likely you got to do an A, B, C to get this to play. 1, 2, 3, 4, extension in the 5. So the subdivision is there. There may be a little bit of subjectivity there in terms of how you're interpreting it, but this is what I see this, right? I see a 1, 2, there's a slight pause here, 4, and then the free fall in the 5. So does it qualify? Yeah, it qualifies. Sideways for the B, right? Maybe it's the B, right? Right now, if my primary, we're looking at alternate, would have this as a B. So A, B. All right, let's keep going. Now, you know what? I've got this. Let me bring motive wave over here because it's kind of clean over here. Let me bring this over. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C into the B. Now, as we come down here, this is getting a little tricky. Let me pull this over just a touch so you guys can see that. A, B. Let's go to back to a 2 hour. So if it's A, we've got to go A, B, C to get our B here. This, I don't hate this count. There's a clear impulse here. 1, 2, that's a mighty tiny little 2, but you can get something to play here. So we can get an impulse here. Now coming off of that, here I got to go down even lower. Let's go to 60. All right, so if we complete the 1 here into the 2, this is close, but here let me just quickly. All right, for those of you who say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Right, we don't overlap. It's close. So the 1, 2, 3, 4 plays, right? The 2 and the 4, right? Not what you'd wish for in the perfect Elliott count, but it qualifies. So let's let me take that off. Okay, so now 1, 2 again. We're getting our next 2 right here. Now it looks like we go 1, 2, and then we go into an expanding diag, a leading diag here. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's close, but it qualifies into the 4. Pardon me, from the 4 to the 5. There's our little ABC into the 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's a reasonable expectation here that we've finished the 1, 2, 3. Right? It's let me just give you this as well. So no, sorry. Here's what I want. I want not 3 to the 2. I want 3 to the 1. Okay, so it's not exactly where we'd look for it. We'd look for this 3 down here. So I wouldn't jump quickly to the idea, oh, we're done, right? Just because we popped here and now we're off. Now we could be done, right? We could be, but it would be a skinny third if we're going to do it there. We're at the 114, not even to the 127. Well, but let's allow for it, right? If that's what we're going to get here, let's consider that. Let's take that off. Okay, so if that's done here, now we're looking for 3 into the 4. Now, of course, the question mark, are we done here, right? This could easily, let's see how we could do this. Well, if it's going to go deeper, then this could be the 1 of the 3, right? Now it's starting to get pretty ugly, and now you're leading into the flat. So the fact that I can go 1, 2, I can do a 3, 4, 5 here, so I can get the shallow third, which, again, based on the fact that we've just bumped into that support, wouldn't be terribly surprising. Now, if we kick back for the 4, well, of course, we know here's our prime spot. So even here, right, go back a degree to the 3, 4. That would be framing the 23 and the 38. So this would be a reasonable spot. Let's get this one over here. This would be a reasonable spot for all of that to play out. Let's get you down here. Now, if it's coming here, all right, now we're thinking triangle. All right, here's the 618, the length of the B to the C. So this would be C to the A, or pardon me, C to the A would be 618 here because that's our B. So we're going from the swing up to the swing down. Here's 618, most common target for a C in a triangle. So what do we get here, right? Where are we here? If this is going to hold here and we're going to come down and get this, now you're thinking triangle. So you can see the whole thing is it's here, 3, 4, right? Little bounce off of the support, right? Weakness continues. We come in, we get that trend line. So if I, oh shit, here, if I come back to, let's go to an 8 hour. Now you're really thinking triangle is what we're at, because you'd have the ABC. Now the C would be shallow relative to the length of the A. So there's a little bit of a mixed message in here, because the most common target for the C would be down here. Oh, shit. Down here at the 100. You got to be careful what you grab, right? So we'd be down here at the 100. Now we'd be beyond the most common target. Now we're, let's go 12. Now we're coming into the edge here, where we want to keep an angle on this, right, for the triangle, so that we could have a flat here. We could have a parallel line here, but we don't want to get too beyond that, because now we're starting to eliminate the triangle and we're leaning into the flat. So if you're going to hold to the idea that it's a triangle, next move, the expectation is we're rallying out of this support zone. Well, here's our support zone here. So here we sit at support. Now, again, right, per the triangle, if it's A, B, and we're looking for the C, now see, yeah, this would be ideal. I'm just connecting these two pivots. Now, certainly, we could have a flat here, and we could end up with a triangle like this, right? So if we came out of here and we got another 3, we could do something like this. Again, you don't necessarily need the E to come down here, but now you'd be looking at something like that. The more alarming count here, which we can't eliminate, I think it's least likely, but we can't eliminate this, is that that we're going to do something more dramatic, right? So the reason you wouldn't anticipate this, right? So if we stick to the idea, well, if you interpret this as the WXY into the A, and this is the B. Now here's where, I bitch about purists, but purists you'd be leaning on a purist here, because a purist, excuse me, purist will tell you that if this is an ABC here, right, that if we couldn't end up with a zigzag, because the B, per hard Elliott rule, the B can't go beyond the start of the A. Now we're doing this as a WXY to get an A wave, so we can get a 3. Actually would be here, right? Shit, I ought to label it here. So we've gone, what do we have here? So we've gone WXY here, truncating the C of the ABC to get us down there. Right, so calling that the A, right, which is how I think is the right way to interpret this. That is the B. We can expand the B. We're coming down for the C. Now, if that's the case, the flat or the triangle here plays best, because, again, per hard rules here, let's flatten that out. We can't have a zigzag, and the zigzag is the most alarming, because if this were to be 1 and this were to be 2, and we were going to get 3, well, I'm under 10 grand here, right? 4, party'd be over, at least for a while. So I don't think we need to. I don't think anybody needs to panic about that. I guarantee you there's some Elliott traders that are looking at this going 1-2, and they're thinking 3's coming. I think that is the least likely, certainly not impossible, right? There is no the market can't do anything, right? The market can do anything. But in terms of our interpretation of it here, I think we're on safer footing here to be interpreting this as the ABC, because the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creates a pattern here that would be outside of rules and guidelines. So if you're an Elliottian here, there's some comfort in the purity of the fact that B is B, or that via the flat scenario here, this is less likely, not impossible, nothing's impossible, to be 1, 2, 3 for a zigzag, right? Well, per the zigzag, the other factor is here, you'd be squeezing this into a 5. Although you can do it, actually. So, shit, I shouldn't. I don't spend too much time here. That you could call that a 5, right? Now we'd have an A. You can get a 5 here, right? You have to do it a little squirrely. You have to go 1, A, expand the B into the 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So you can still get an A, B, C here. A, expand the B. But if you were thinking you were going to get a 5-3-5, well, that's a rule. Let's hope that we can count on that rule. Okay, let me get this out of here, and let's get this out of here. There are quite a good number of people. The other count that I see often, and some good Ellioticians, a few that follow us here, they still like this, right? That we went into an expanded B here, and we're counting this as a 5, and that this was the pivot, and this is all just part of a correction, and we're going up here. I think that per what's happening here is still least likely. But, you know, I mean, to each his own, right? That's one of the interesting things about Elliot here. We went without complete information, and we aren't going to know exactly what it is until it completes. How are you reading it, right? How are you interpreting it? My view is that this is the cleanest count of it, right? That we do it this way, and this is open to interpretation because it's unclear. It's it's just a big sloppy mess. So you're doing your best to try and interpret that per rules and guidelines. Based on the fact that what we have here, I still think we circle all the way back to the idea of, okay, rule of alternation. We're looking for either a flat or a triangle. That's guiding our interpretation. So thus the A, B, C, D, E plays better. Or if it's going to be an A, B, and we're going to get the 4 down here, and we're going to get a true flat. Right? So here, the Elliot, I think, is essential to how you're interpreting this. Now, I'm assuming anyone, well, of course, members here, but any YouTube subs that are watching, you've got a passing interest in the Elliot, or at least you're curious as to how Ellioticians might be interpreting this. And I'm never one to say that my count is the right count. My count is a count. And I typically will try and keep a primary and an alternate that I would show here, and I think I'm doing that in essence here. My view is it's either, I've made this point pretty clear, a flat or a triangle. So I'm not particularly worried about something breaking below. Oh, we could certainly come down to 8. Shit, we could come down here, sweep the lows, right, and then start back, right? Now we're off. But if we're coming down this far, well, you wouldn't kill the triangle, right? Again, as I just had it drawn, you could have a descending pivot here, a flat line here, descending triangle. We do it this way. Now the 4 would be all the way over here before we go up again. So there's a lot of different ways that this can play. So right now, what can we say with certainty? We're bouncing off of support. That's really all we can say here. Now, as we interpret that internal count, let's go to the 60. So where are we? 1, 2. Well, it's long enough for the 3. You could understand how we might be pausing here. It looks like you can go 3, 4. It's a little sloppy on the finish, but well, that could have some more to it. So let's play it out here. So if this is the 1 and this is the 2, right? So per what's there, that's a reasonable interpretation. Others might have it differently. Well, we're not even to the 1, 2, 7, 2, right? So if we were going to come down here, and then you were to bounce back to this, right? So we know this will, well, you can just play it out here. Right? You can just see this. Right? We're coming down here, right, for the C. So because we're interpreting this as an A, B, and we're looking for 5 here to complete the C. I know you get a little bit lost here if you don't keep it. So let me hide that one, right? That's the scary one. So if it's A, B, we're looking for 5 here. 1, 2. Shallow 2. Here's our high probability zone. Right here would be the logical place where this structure, shit, even if you did it this way, come here, brought it down here. Right now you can see the path, right? It makes it, boy, okay, now 3, and shit, you could get a triangle here. Now we're down here for the C. Now you're thinking it's an ABC, which would make you think that the triangle is the most probable. Oh, what did I miss here? Anything? I don't think I missed anything. Anything down here. Well, if you're someone who dollar cost averages, as we break below 40 heading down here, this might be a reasonable spot to start picking at some longs. If you're a hardcore Elliotician, you're going to wait for a 5 to complete here. And if you are a hardcore Elliotician and this ends up as an ABC, and we've eliminated any of the alternates, right? So if it's an ABC here, well, let's be careful about thinking, okay, the 4's in and we're off to the moon, right? You'd be anticipating the D, then the E. So the implication would be if you're a buyer down here in this range here, if I do it this way, maybe you're not picking the low, but you start buying in this range coming off of the 1-2, because if it's going to start into an A, B, C, we got to have a 1-2. So if you're a buyer off of this, okay, I'm into the 1-2, I got to stop under here. Oh, I get my 3, 4, 5 to give me my A wave. Well, just be mindful that now you're anticipating the B and you're anticipating the C, and it would be easy to think, oh, I'm into the 3, 4, 5, and I'm off for the 1 of the 5th. I'd be careful thinking that, right? So it wouldn't make sense. Per the Elliott count, right? It just wouldn't play the same way as the triangle. So this would be hopium, right? And this is kind of what I was touching on before. Retail, or the non-Elliott traders, right? Well, here's, where I would propose to you, Elliott gives you an advantage here. The average trader, let's just say it that way, is going to be thinking, oh, lows are in, off we go. And if this is an ABC, that is not impossible, just less probable, right? That we're going to do that. And then come down. I mean, I suppose you could rework the whole thing. You could probably relabel this such that you could get a 5 in here, and you could still lean into the flat. I think that would be a little trickier to do. I don't know how you're going to do it. You'd have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're finishing the 5. I suppose it's possible. I prefer the count as we've got it here because I don't love this, as I said I don't love this as the 3, this the 4, and now we're finishing the 5, although it's certainly possible, right? I could be very wrong, right? Counts get relabeled, interpretations are incorrect, I'm wrong often. Unfortunately, you don't need to be right more than you're wrong to be profitable. That's the name of the game. It's not about ego, it's not about who had it, who nailed it, who posted it on Twitter, who's profitable. That's the only fucking thing that matters. Okay, so I think we've dwelled on this enough here. Looks like we're in the midst of a 5 here. So while there may be a little reaction here, I'd be cautious about being overly aggressive here. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, right? We could easily do this, right? We could have some sort of very truncated double bottom ABC. I mean, anything's possible here. I just think less likely. All right, there we go. I think that covers us for this Friday here. I think all of our promos are over. We do have a lot of new members through the promos that we did around the holidays. So we'll continue with the live streams. Just a reminder, you can always join us for free, right? If you want to get in and tap into that white belt and get started. That's the most typical path for members of ours. They start free. They get into the white belt. They say, this seems to be helping me. I'd like to learn a bit more, and then they go blue, purple, brown. We've just got our latest brown belt. Right? And there's no easy task, right? If you make brown belt, you're a very skilled trader because we make it hard for you to get there. All right, there we go. I'll wrap it up there. We'll be back for the live streams on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. So I go Monday, Tuesday. My partner, Monty Crypto, goes on Wednesday. He's getting a lot of followers here with his style, which is different than mine. So we both like the fact that there's different ways to read the market, and his is a bit more tied to long-term support and resistance with a bit of recognition of the Elliott without the detail that I'm prone to. So there you go. Lots of things to choose from. With that, let's be very curious to see how we look next week when we come back to revisit this. You guys have a good weekend, and I'll be back talking to you on Monday.